Theravada. Theravada. Theravada.
Distorted sound reproduction is usually the result of turning resistance.
Hello everybody, this is Oldneon here, and welcome to the Oldneon experience. So I guess let's just get started. My first subject in this series will be Theravada, also known as Zen, also known as Zenny Hardaway, also known as Zen Griffey, also known as Zennis Rodman. I think you're starting to get the picture here. How about I just let him explain it?
Zen Griffey and Zenny Hardaway and all stuff like that obviously stuck with me. Like, I went my whole life being a Penny Hardaway fan, a Ken Griffey Jr. fan, and never not once was I like, oh, Zen Griffey, you know what I'm saying? And then I was like, I don't know, like 22, 23 years old when someone called me that, and I was like, wow. I was like, that's so cool. I was like, that's like the coolest. I like felt so like for the first, like my name, I went through like phases in life where my name was like really cool to me and when name was just really annoying to me. Everyone thinks like, oh, were your parents hippies, or oh, I didn't realize you were part Japanese, or like something stupid. And I'm just like, the fact that I always hear the phrase, oh, your parents must have been hippies, like verbatim. I'm like, why does everyone say that? Why can't they at least come about implying that my parents were hippies in a different way? You know what I'm saying? Like, they always just say that same, but that's not the case at all. I'm named after my grandfather.
Do you think that like weird confusion has like kind of shaped like maybe worldview, music, this, that, and the other?
Yeah, because every time people talk to me, they're expecting some type of story off rip. So it was almost like from a young age, I was ready to tell a story. And I had to like, you know, mad pressure on me at a young age to always articulate. Like, small talk for me was never small talk. It was always like somewhat invasive. So I had to almost like know how to deflect all the sort of like buffoonery that would come around people asking my name. It would be coaches, it would be teachers, even like people who you would think that would uphold like, oh, that's your name. It's always like somehow, some way, somewhere I get that like knee-jerk humor regarding my name. And I'm just like, really? You know, as a child, like, it's low-key traumatizing because you can't just be John or Andrew or like, oh, okay, there you are, Tommy. It's like, there's Zen. Ooh, you know what I'm saying? It's never just me. It's always like, oh, it's Zen. Oh, that's his name. I can't believe it. People just looking at me like, ooh, that's your name.
Yeah,
like I had people.
It's like an otherness.
Yeah, you know, and kids were like, are you from the future? Ooh, I'm like 7 years old, and people are like, why is that your name? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was always something. I never want people to know my last name.
Okay.
Like, I felt like even from a young age, and it has nothing to do with like my family or anything. If anything, it's just like me wanting to protect my family. But I remember from a young age, like when I finally started to embrace my name, I was like, yo, Yanni is so fire because he's just Yanni. Like he's not Yanni, whatever Greek ass last name he had. He was just Yanni. I was like, yeah, that's kind of fire. And then like Madonna, I was like, yeah, Madonna. She's like, yeah, I'm just Madonna. You know what I'm saying? I was always like, that's kind of fire. Like, they don't have a last name. Like, it's just one name. So I was like, yo, I should just be Zen.
So I want to highlight one thing that he said there that I found to be very interesting. He mentioned not wanting to share his last name in an effort to basically protect his family. And I found that to be pretty interesting because as we kind of continued our conversation, I was starting to realize how much his both his immediate and his distant family played a big role into creating the artist that he is today. So let me show you a story he has about listening to Slim Shady in the car with his mom and his sister, and let's see where this goes.
I'm not an Eminem fan at all, and I don't mean to put emphasis on Eminem, but hope that doesn't affect my potential of getting signed to Griselda Shady Records or whatever. But yeah, with Slim Shady, the song Slim Shady, I'm 8 years old hearing it, and this dude's voice on the radio just sounds crazy to me. I'm in the car with my mom and my sister when I'm hearing this. And his voice just, and I'm just like, what the hell is this? You know what I'm saying? I'm already like, this isn't like all the other cool stuff. This isn't no like Run DMC type, whatever. I was like, what is this? And how he said like, Will Smith don't got a curse to sell records. Well, I do. So fuck him and fuck you too. And then the beeps went off. I remember my mom being like, oh, I don't like this. You know what I'm saying? Because she's just like freaking out by motherly standard of the beeps on the radio with her children in the car, you know? Yeah. But it was something like that even, because I knew who Will Smith was. I knew Getting Jiggy with It, nah, whatever, you know? So I hear Eminem saying, like, making fun of how Will Smith is like this clean-cut Hollywood rapper. Like, I did, like my sister I remember my sister explaining to me why Eminem is like a character and Marshall Mathers is the person, and like why he picked the name because it sounds like his initials, but then rappers pick a name because it's sort of like a character they play, and like the whole thing. So like my sister explained that much to me, and shout out to her. Obviously now she's an English teacher, so when she's 15 years old, she could break down the whole literary elements of rapping to me.
Basically graded, you know what I'm saying? Graded Zen, you know what I mean?
Simply put, you know, but then that's what's funny to me, because it's like my sister put me on to like Big Pun and stuff like that, you know, and like I remember thinking that Dr. Dre was Marcus Camby, and she was like, that's not Marcus Camby. She's like, that's Dr. Dre. That's the guy who made all of Eminem's beats. And I remember, oh, okay, you know what I'm saying? But it was like, she would point all these things out to me. I'd watch like TRL with her when she'd watch me after school, you know what I'm saying? Like when I wasn't at like the babysitter's crib or whatever, you know? Yeah. And it's just funny because she did sort of help lay down the idea of like how to even process rap music as like a genre of music and like its own like, you know, literary thing, you know. And my cousin, who's 5 years younger than my sister's like 12 years older than me. My cousin, who was like my big brother to me, is like 5 years younger than her. My cousin was like breaking down Ether to me. Like I remember being in his crib already, and I was with my other cousin, and he came home and ran up the steps with his boy and jumped on the computer and downloaded it and like played it, and they're like freaking out, and I like keep playing it back, and he's breaking down everything to me. And I remember like I'm 9 years old, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, fuck Jay-Z, Nas is the best, you know what I'm saying, whatever. And it's like, it's all this shit, because like my whole family was from Queens originally, you know what I'm saying, like we were all out in Long Island at this time. This was happening in Long Island, but we were all from Queens originally, so it was still like oh my god, like we all still like we were playing basketball in Queens for like the teams, like in the churches of the neighborhoods we were all from, and like our uncle was a coach, and we were still like, we had friends out in Queens, our other cousins were in Queens, so it was like we're always back and forth Queens, Long Island. So it was just like ill, like, oh, it's Long Island, but it's like a Queens versus Brooklyn thing, and this is crazy, you know what I'm saying? So all that was going on, and I'm like so young, but then like I watched my cousin and my sister grow up, and it didn't affect them as much anymore, but it affected me so much more, and I realized that it affected them because that was just what was cool at the time. So it affected everyone. The way that we talk about Tekashi 6ix9ine, they were talking about Nas versus Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? What do we have today?
That was the big stuff, and it's like,
you know. So, but I'm taking it so deeply because I'm so young and impressionable, and I'm seeing everyone make a fuss out of it, that to me, I'm seeing it as like, yo, this is it right here. This is so important to me. And then it's not too long after that I find a Madlib beat tape on Kazaa, and then like the rest is history. You know, like one thing led to another, and I was fortunate enough to have a computer in my room at a young age, and then boom, Napster turned into Kazaa, turned into LimeWire, and I just didn't stop looking for music after that, you know, because it was like I was obsessed with the whole story. I was obsessed with the whole production of it, like who's making the beats, and oh my god, the videos, and like I always saw myself critiquing any and all media that I was sort of experiencing. You can look at the rapper as the rapper, you can look at the rapping, you can look at the music, you can look at how the music may or may not complement said rapping and so forth. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many other, then how does that complement the way that the product design of the album was carried out? You know, the cover and all that. How well does the track list really flow? How much context is given to the tracks? Are you really driving a point home with the album, whether obvious or nuanced? You know, so many things, but these were things I was taking all this, like, I didn't need anyone to really teach me after that. I was just starting to catch wind of, like, it was all the other things I was learning. Why an author is special, why is a film director special, why is this special, why is that special? And I'm basically like, well, Nas is dope because it was written as like a movie. Boom, boom, boom. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm like, so it's just early. Like I'll be having conversations with people. I'm up on the hip hop forums. You know what I'm saying? I'm going in, like, everything. I'm meeting all my friends. If I had friends at a certain age, it's because I knew that like we liked certain rap music. That was how even Rob Chambers and I have been friends our whole lives.
Yeah. It's 2000. Rob Chambers here with me.
So I have to like pause here and really emphasize Rob Chambers, because if you know anything about Theravada, you would know that Rob Chambers and Theravada are practically inseparable. If you look at the production credits on Theravada's albums, Rob Chambers shows up very consistently. Plus, as I was doing the interview, I noticed the parallels between the two were pretty insane. So yeah, I'll let Zen explain the nature of the relationship, and then afterwards I'll let Rob Chambers explain the relationship as well.
Since a young age, we were always into like random rap music that both of our older cousins, who both had the same name and are both the same age, but we're both on opposite sides of the family. Like Rob Chambers and I are cousins, but we both have cousins on our own side of a family with the same exact name that are the same age, that basically put us onto mad rap shit at a young age.
Yeah, we both had older cousins that kind of functioned in a way where, you know, he was a huge influence, obviously. I mean, I'm basically an only child. I have a half brother, but he's way older. He had every DJ Clue mixtape. He had every mix that didn't even exist. You know, they were taping shit from the radio. They were taping shit from Hot 97. He had every CD. He cared about the booklets. He cared about the notes on the inside. Like, everything he showed was the shit that kind of differentiates the regular passerby to like the true fan of the craft.
And they played basketball, which is why it's weird that we're so similar, because we literally have mad parallels in our lives.
So we always like look for patterns in life, you know what I mean? Especially people closest to us. We always felt like it was some parallel thing. Like we both like were kind of misplaced growing up in a way. Like he is from Queens, you know, initially Zen, and he had to like grow up in Long Island. And I'm from Queens, but I grew up in Manhattan basically, because every school I ever went to was Manhattan. So we were just like, that was a parallel. The cousin thing was a parallel. We had to like drive equal to the church we played ball at from opposite directions at the same time to like go to practice and shit. So that was a parallel. Like even if you look on the map, like we're coming from like equidistant spots opposite from each other on the map. Like it's just crazy. So everything was like this weird matrix way that it seemed.
You guys are like kind of like a yin and yang kind of thing, because you know, like
yeah, totally.
Do you want to talk about that relationship a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna stop rapping in a few years and just be his manager full time. That's really how I'm coming when it all boils down. Because I wouldn't be doing none of this if it wasn't for him.
I always wanted to kind of make beats my whole life, and I'd fucked around with like MTV Music Generator. That it used to be this, I don't know if you remember that video game, but it was definitely on like PlayStation 2, and it was on the computer, I think, as well. And they would give you like pre-assigned loops, or like pre-made loops, and you could just like mix and match a library of like thousands of loops, and you could just make your own music and kind of cut and paste things and shit like that. But I don't think you could really like go on some MIDI shit and play your own stuff. But I mean, maybe you could. I just don't remember.
He was the one that made it possible. He was the one that even suggested like, yo, I just downloaded Fruity Loops. You should try it. I'm gonna send it to you. When we were like 14 or 15 years old.
I met a lot of kids that were, using Reason, like ninth grade. All I did was just watch them.
I didn't stick with it. I didn't know what I was doing. I remember I made a beat and I remember putting mad like emotion into it because I was like figuring it out. And I was like, I made some long, like 6-minute beat.
And just like a sponge, just take everything I could, every little trick, every little piece of info that related to making sounds bigger, to making sound crisper.
Man, I remember I went so in, I was like sweating when I made it, you know what I'm saying? Like I really went in. I didn't know what I was doing.
Because everything at that stage is just like, how do I not make it sound like trash?
I sent it to this man, and this guy, Thanil, was just laughing. He was like, this sounds like Blastoise's funeral. But you know what's crazy? When Kanye made 808s and Heartbreak, I swear the first track sounds exactly like what I was trying to do with that beat.
Eventually, it just became like I would start making beats and Zen would be here.
Thanil sticks with it. I'm not really doing it. I'm ball is life. I like sneakers and playing basketball, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really do the music thing.
There was just a crazy vibe of music in the city at that time. Like, a lot of the dance music was coming through. Like, people were listening to Justice. My friends went to like the Justice concert at MSG. They were like finding out about techno, all this crazy shit.
It was like I just had homies that like all lived near me at the time, and everyone was doing music. So I met them like on some like playing ball at the park type shit, because obviously I'm like the only one in that town where I was going to high school where I was like actually like making it a point to go to the park to play basketball. So I finally find the other people that lived near me. I'm like, I think 13 or 14 by this point, where I was like actually making friends in Long Island.
Then on the other end, Zen's in Long Island, and we've always obviously listened to hip hop, but as high school progressed, he met Mike P and Marlo.
But we all became friends like instantly type shit. We're all like 14 to like 17, it's high school. And I'm hearing the music on MySpace. And the beat selection was just so dope to me, because it was like they were using like Madlib beats and Kev Brown beats. And
they were rapping on Mind Design beats before he was Mind Design, before Mike P was the battle rapper. Like, I'm talking when we were like 14, 15, and they're a little older than us, so they were kind of already at that stage where they had become themselves musically.
This is even before SoundCloud. This is like 08. This is still MySpace. Like Mind Design like had his name spelt out with vowels in it and all that, you know.
Jeez.
So, like this is pre-smack URL Mike P.
They were making shit that was classic to me at the time. I mean, I'm sure it would still stand up now. I don't even have those songs.
I was always with them, and it was like they all had this natural ability to rap, and just like they were making songs, and then MySpace was doing like 20, 30K a song, like, and to do that in MySpace when you're 16 is like crazy.
But Zen would come through to my crib when we're 15, 16, before a basketball game, or we're about to go to the city for whatever, and he would be like, yo, you gotta hear this shit, and he would play what turned out to be all these years later, like these dudes' music. And I never had met them until I was probably 18, you know, Mike and Marlo. But they were rapping, and Zen was around them. He would DJ for them as the years progressed. So that kind of sparked something. And at the same time that was happening, I had gotten Reason. I was starting to make beats, you know, 16 years old, 15 years old.
But this is before the idea of like, no one saw rap as like a career choice. It was just like, oh, maybe you'll get a song that moves around one day because you're rapping really well and one of these songs will make sense. And not in the sense of like how today they say, oh, make a hit, where you just throw any collection of words together and it might become a song. You know, this was like, oh, you actually showed your skill, and, you know, one of the DJs respects it and he gave you some play, and now you kind of have like a whole little thing going on. This is before social media, you know?
And then it was just like, we knew that we wanted to go into it basically at 16, but weren't, you know, ready at all for that.
They stopped making music for a couple of years. And I remember like one of my homies, we used to kick it a lot, but I'd go to his crib and he was always like writing a verse, or he was always like throwing an idea around, but he was never really like finishing nothing at that time. So boom, our lives, like towards the end of high school, he went away to school, he goes to DC, I'm in Queens and Long Island doing my thing. I get a job DJing for the first time, like a formal job DJing.
It was like an extended version of what we were doing in middle school, you know, like we were away for 5 days in the trenches, you know, in places we didn't really belong in a sense, in school and in different environments that we weren't really accustomed to. And, you know, just working on shit.
So now it's like, I'm learning how to do lights. I'm learning what power is, like the science of like power and wattage and like why to run lights this way, where to put the TV screens, how to do sound, how to DJ, how to MC, how to introduce the frickin' newlyweds when they come into the room. Like, oh, this is a bar mitzvah, make sure you do this and that. You know, if you get a free beer, don't drink it openly, put it over here. You know what I'm saying? Like all like the little things about that. But then from there, I'm learning music stuff, boom, boom, boom.
And then in college was the same thing, just on a grander scale. Like I don't think I really saw Zen for like a year and a half at one point, like 09, like 2010 to like 2011. Like we were just like, he was heavy into DJing. He was working at that company. He was, you know, around rap, like heavy, you know.
You know, and then all the while I'm learning how to DJ. Now Q, Mike P, and my other homie Marlo getting back into rapping, now doing shows and stuff. So like, oh, perfect. I learned how to DJ. Now I can DJ for you guys. So let's do shows, boom, boom, boom. You know what I'm saying? And then everything starts climbing.
Like everybody, I mean, mad people in his, I can't even remember people's names, but I felt like every single person around him was like becoming a rapper. So he was, you know, and he was working on beats too, you know, kind of on the low, and he would send me shit.
All while that's happening, Thanil is making beats and getting really nice at stuff, and he's like DJing events with our other homies, and he's like making dubstep and all this electronic music.
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to like just get better at it, you know. I remember I spent my whole meal plan on buying Logic Pro, which was the dumbest move of my life. But either way, that was the mindset, you know. Like, and I was trying to come at it on some. I really did, man.
I start going to DC as the music thing for me starts to really mature, and Thanil was like, "Yo, you gotta come out to DC, man. Like, you ain't never visited. You gotta come through. Let's wild out." I was like, "Boom." So we go, and then like the trilogy thing immediately became rekindled.
So yeah, we were just separate, man, for a while where we were working on that shit. And indeed, you know, we honed our craft. And then by the time he started coming out to DC, so once I had my apartment at Morgan, DC, 2012, that's when it really started.
So before we continue, I want to pause here and sort of highlight a Rob Chambers quote he had about Theravada while they were playing basketball together, which in that conversation I could probably make an entire documentary about. But anyways, I think this will serve as a really good prologue for explaining how Zen got into rapping. Because as you kind of noticed, we've talked a lot about the beat making and them working together and stuff, but not too much about Theravada's rapping. Well, let's check it out.
And the funny thing with Zen is, like, none of this shit happened randomly, because and it's nice looking through the story now, because it really is like an organic evolution of shit. Because I remember, like, in middle school, like, there were with the basketball league where there would be a microphone, or there would be crowds unrelated to ball, but like random events that would be happening around basketball. And if Zen ever had the mic, and even if there were parents there, even if there were kids that were younger than us, like just all a variation of, like, this dude really captured the room. Like when we were like 13, 14, 15, 16, and then even more as we got older. So there was always that magnetic energy to where I could picture him being on stage and people be interested. And seeing that shit from a young age, I was like, yeah, man.
We were just on our own similar waves naturally in life, and all the rap, DJ stuff and he had the production DJ stuff. And then it was like right around the time when I started rapping, it was around the time I started linking up with him again. Not too long after I started making beats. This is like end of 2012.
And then, you know, we spent that time away working on shit to where I had all these beats that I had made in the last 3 years. He had all these verses. He would write shit on the spot. And then basically 2012 is when, you know, we started putting tracks down.
I didn't have like a rapper with ultimate street appeal to just plug my beats to do them justice. Because at the time, my beats were so simple to people and they didn't really understand it. And anyone who understood it was like, oh, you just need someone to kill it. And like I had like a lot of my homies weren't really into that kind of stuff. They were trying to like go a different route and do radio stuff or whatever nonsense they were convinced was gonna work, you know what I'm saying? And I was just like, I ain't really got no rappers to work with.
Zen had to step into that role because he had to fill that void. Nobody else was gonna do it, in our circle at least. And what are we gonna wait around for some guy to pop off that we don't know? Like, that's ridiculous, you know, we gotta do it ourselves.
Like, yeah, I was rapping, but I was like, I'm not the rapper, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying, I just liked rapping. I wasn't ever seeing it like, you know, But then, you know, time goes by and you're dissatisfied with everything you're hearing, and then that just pushes you to put the pen to paper.
And then once he started to rap, because basically he was just tired of his friend not living up to what we're supposed to do. So he kind of did it out of like necessity, like, all right, I'm definitely have the skills to do this. I have to just do it myself, because what the fuck am I waiting for? And that was perfect, because that was what was missing the whole time. Because I had beats, but I didn't have rappers I really fucked with that I could give beats to. You know, most people were, you know, clowns that I knew that rap. So it was just perfect.
I was already good with words. I already considered myself a writer. I was a natural performer, but I never saw it like, oh, I can be that face. I can be that dude. You know, oh, they look at him and be like, yeah, that's the guy. I never really saw myself like that, honestly. I saw myself as being somebody. I could be a leader or role model or whatever you want to call it, someone who made things work for people in the scene.
And then after that, basically in the next year, it just went into speed mode, where we were just knocking out 12 beats a time. You know, if we met up, it would be like 20 beats, we're done. And then it's kind of been like that since.
Because I'm not in this just to make myself look good. I want to make everything look good. Everything's been looking bad.
Like, think of the function that we provided, and he provided more specifically for all those years before he rapped, which was, you know, DJ, promoter, designer. Like, he made the flyers. He was the one with the voice online that could reach the most people, that could get people galvanized.
Why would I just keep it all to myself? If I know how to make other people look good in their own right, that doesn't downplay my looking good. I look good for myself. That's how I do it for me. If I'm gonna make someone else look good, I'm gonna make that shit work for them. That has nothing to do with me. I just know how to do it for them.
He likes to make his people look good and be as good as they should be. And he wants people to realize their potential.
A lot of people, they're not considering the long game with all the elements that could be refined to better accentuate what it is that you do.
And being, you know, on the outskirts for so long, both of us, we always looked at shit from that angle.
I mean, I can lead in the background. I don't have to play the front and be a leader. You know, I think I play the back just as well as I play the front. If anything, I play the back better.
The role that we like to play is like helping shape the way that everybody can realize and be, you know, the greatest they could be in anything.
Because I can think more clearly without the light on my face. I can handle the pressure. I can do all that. But I don't want to be that guy. If I'm gonna be that guy, it's because it was there naturally, because that's what the people demanded, and that's just how it worked out. So be it. But I'm not gonna play it up like, look at me, you know, my turn. No, it's not that.
You know what I mean? Like, we made our teammates better in basketball. We didn't hug the ball. You know, I would sit there with kids that were totally unable to do any athletic task and work on like a lefty layup with them and always trying to uplift, you know, like that's how you win. That's how we all win. We can't be shitting on each other. You know, we got to be, you actually can be good at this. Let me show you this, like whatever we could teach, whatever we could show, especially to younger people, that's important, man, because we had those people for us. Otherwise we wouldn't be able to do that. So it's important.
I'd rather keep going to shows where I'm not booking and make people say, wait a second, and why are you not playing tonight? You should be playing tonight. How come you're not playing tonight? I'm gonna book, you know what I mean? But like, if I'm gonna sit in the studio with people, I don't need to hop on a song. I'd rather hear a beat and tell someone, yo, you should rap on that beat right now because you would sound great on it, and then that happened because I suggested it to them. That's more important to me than a feature. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, that's a lot to digest. And kind of because of that, I think this is a good time to kind of pause so we can kind of reflect on all this information that Theravada and Rob Chambers has given us. I think I've sort of bit off more than I can chew with this first episode, so I feel like I kind of have to make this into a two-parter. So in the next episode of the Oldneon Experience, I'll be revisiting Theravada and Rob Chambers, this time kind of talking more in detail about their music and about his new up-and-coming release, Zennis Rodman, the ambitious 91-tracked album. So yeah, hope you have a good day. This has been the Oldneon Experience. See you next time.